What is going on, my peeps? Man, Versatile is back with another video, back here to talk about the Sony a6100. I think this is about 6 months later for me since having it, sitting right here in the background. Attached to it is my full frame 50mm 1.8 by Sony, so native lens on the native body. And I just want to give my thoughts on the a6100. Shout out to Jay Will for dropping a video for his channel. He talked about having it over like a year with the Sigma 16. Currently, I'm using my Sigma 16 on my a7 III, my full frame camera, to actually shoot my content, which is why I can actually show you guys the a6100 to talk about. But before we do, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so we never miss my videos. Then we can sit back, chillax, and see what's cracking. Now, let's get into the video. How has the Sony a6100 been since getting it, since obtaining it, since buying it? Well, if you guys remember back about 6 months ago, I actually got this on a B&H photo deal. You know, the package that this basically cost was like $800 to $900, and I got it for $600. And it came with the Pancake 16 to 50mm APS-C lens coupled with the body for $600. What a steal. Had to get it. Why did I get the a6100 back then? I needed another camera to use outside of the a7 III, plus my wife needed a camera to also use, and so the budget allowed was for a6100. Trust me, I really would have wanted to get, if not the a6400, the a6600, but for the deal, I couldn't pass up on a newer camera that came with a lens, and so that's why I got the a6100. Now, upon using it, one of the first things you're gonna immediately appreciate is the size. The size of this camera is very good. Like, it's very small, compact, like an APS-C camera should be. Something flying around in here, a little fly. And that's what makes it so easy to use. It's light, it's nimble. The Sony's full frame 50mm actually feels very good on this body because it's such a smaller size full frame lens. Now, of course, any lens that you put on APS-C, you will have to crop in, and with, I think, most lenses, if not at least most of Sony's E-mounts are 1.5 times zoom or crop in basically on APS-C. So 50mm is equivalent to 75mm. So you're getting like that telephoto without the telephoto or semi-telephoto look when you couple 50mm on this body. When I tell you, it looks good still. And a lot of times, if you guys don't already know, lenses is what makes the body. You know, the body can be very solid and very good, but listen, but you have to have good glass to really maximize the quality of the sensor and the body that you buy for your cameras. So that's why you don't always have to over-invest in the camera body, over-invest in the lenses, because that's where you're gonna see your bread and butter. Speaking of butter, that bokeh. But no, for real, the size with this is phenomenal. It's a catch-22 for me. I love it. I also didn't really like it at first when I had been using this camera. Why? Because it's too small. Like you get used to it because it's light, so you don't have to really worry about it. I bought a grip, a camera grip for the a7 III because I kind of felt the same thing with the a7 III, despite it being a little more beefier. It's just the height wise or length wise, it just was not working out. So I'm experiencing the same thing with the a6100, except I cannot find a camera grip for the life of me for the a6100. And so that's one of the things that troubles me with the a6100 when using it from time to time, or back then before I realized it was a lot easier than I thought using this, is that it just felt so small. And so, as you guys have seen on the channel, I have invested in a rig system for my a7 III. I may not go as far as I did with my a7 III for the a6100, but I am going to invest in a cage for this to add grip. And the cage that I'm looking at, again, will be by small rig, and it will have like a wooden grip. So at least it adds some more beef and heft to the actual camera to hold. Now, using the EVF is a little strange because it's not as high quality as like the A7 III or cameras that have came out since then from Sony in particular. But the other reason why it's kind of odd is because where it's sitting at, like, it's not that bad, but like I'm used to it being right above the sensor with the A7 III, so it kind of just feels more aligned and, you know, hand-eye coordinated, where here you can kind of feel a little weird from time to time. Not a bad thing, not a bad deal, but just something to keep in mind when trying to use the EVF with the a6100. Now, in terms of its quality, it does shoot 4K 30 frames per second. That's what I shoot in. I like the additional frames are smoothing out the look. It still looks cinematic, like 24, but I prefer 30. Now, it will crop in, I believe, halftime zoom, so depending on what you have on here, it'll crop in just a little bit more. So like my A7 III with the Sigma, it crops in to 24 because it's a APS-C lens on my full frame sensor, but then cropping it an additional half times, it crops in from 16 basically all the way up to 28 millimeters equivalent on 4K 30. So keep that in mind, half times, you know, add that to the lens, and that's how much it's gonna crop in there. So, or yeah, that should be right. Or it's a quarter, a 0.4, something like that. But basically, it comes out to be 28 mil on on the A7 III. So when using 4K, just keep in mind it's gonna crop in just a teeny bit more. But it has 1080p 120 frames per second as well. It's got your slow and quick settings. It's got all the settings pretty much that the full frame bodies have. It's just that it's on a crop body, and that's actually kind of convenient considering for the size and the price point that you're gonna find a lot of APS-Cs in Sony's line. That's a very good deal or bargain, if you will. Now, for me using it, I've used it for quite a few bits and pieces of my B-roll if I'm not using my A7 III. A lot of times when I have my A7 III set up, I don't feel like moving it, so I will then just grab the a6100. Easy to balance on the gimbal, of course, and then again, you know, holding it, it feels, it has grown onto me in terms of using it. Now, for me personally, I have not actually used it with the Sigma 16 because of the pancake lens. The 16 to 50 right here, I actually like it. I think it's somewhat underrated. It is a power zoom lens, which also is nice and it works relatively well, but the aperture is between 3.5 and 5.6, so keep that in mind when using this, because it's a variable aperture as well, which means as you zoom in, the aperture will close. So keep that in mind when using it, but it is nice and it fits the body very well as well. So that's one of the things that you know, I use more so than not. And with photography, I really just started using the 50mm on the a6100, and it has worked phenomenal. With my A7 III, because it's in the cage now, I'm not as apt to want to remove it from the cage, thus grabbing this boy, putting the 50mm on here and using it. I do need to get a 35mm focal length period, and because I have a full frame, I will probably always invest in full frame lenses. So if I was to get a 35mm for the A7 III, attaching it to the APS-C will be a 50mm equivalent, and that's fine with me because both focal lengths, whether full frame or APS-C, will work to my advantage when it comes to video and photos. And with the a6100, this bad boy does both pretty well. Here are some photos that I've been able to shoot with the a6100 since having it, and then all the B-rolls you see of the 6100 is of course taken from the A7 III, and then the video of me assembling my cine rig for the A7 III was all recorded with the a6100 provided by the wife's hand. So that shows you this has pretty good quality, and my lighting wasn't the best in that, but you see how I still handled the light pretty well regardless of what range she was at, and then even when she closed in, it got really good. Now, I have a Rode video mic for this, little Shogun mic is over there, and I have the small rig attachment, the cold shoe attachment for it, so that way it can be offset, so that way it doesn't interfere with the flip up viewfinder, which is lovely. That's one of the things that I really appreciate from the a6100 as well. The a6400 also has it, and the a6600, and then thereafter the a7S3, the FX3, they all have, and maybe the A1, don't hold me to the A1, has a flip out horizontally as opposed to vertically. And this comes in handy because if you're trying to do self photography, or you're trying to maybe do your own self videoing or self-recording, maybe you have it as a side cam, which I've used this as a lot as well. Some of my unboxings I've done recently with the Galaxy S21 and the Z Flip, this was my side cam, or my B cam that was getting the off-angle footage of me while I was doing those videos. Very, very, very useful and convenient camera. So if you guys have not already thought about investing in it, again, you got NFC right there that you can use to tap on to your phone. Wi-Fi settings to transfer over to your phone or device as well. Very, very nice. If you guys haven't already thought about investing in Sony's APS-C line, the a6100 is good for the money. Now here's where one of the problems I come in, and I mentioned it earlier. I can't find a camera grip for the a6100. As a matter of fact, I can't find a lot of accessories for the a6100 outside of the small rig cage and the accessories that can then be attached to that. And so I almost feel like companies kind of just looked at this camera and then immediately looked the other way to the a6600 and above. I don't know if they just outright disrespecting this camera or not, or they just didn't feel the need because they didn't feel like a lot of people was gonna buy it. But it sounds like a lot of people did buy this, and to accessorize it is kind of hard. So I hope companies kind of remember the a6100 and make some simple accessories like a camera grip, because that is very much so needed for such a compact camera. Now, those are my thoughts on the a6100, coupled with the 50mm, coupled with the 16mm, even though I haven't used it yet. If you go watch Jay Will's video, he talks about and shows you guys footage from the 16. As a matter of fact, what I could probably do if I haven't already done so, I will attach the 16mm onto the a61 and shoot some B-roll footage just to show you guys the quality there. And then of course you guys have seen the pancake 16 to 50 through some of my B-roll and a lot of my B-cam footage, my off-angle footage in some of my other videos. So keep that in mind when you guys have seen, or if you go back and see some of my content. I will be kind of talking more about video / camera gear because I do have and been growing a production company, and I'm really into that kind of stuff, filmmaking and everything. I will kind of start trying to develop more short films or cinematic shorts on this channel as well. It just takes time to do that and energy, and as you guys know, delivering packages ain't easy. So I'm trying to find that work-life balance there to kind of push out more content for you guys. But leave your thoughts and comments down in the comment section below about what you guys think about Sony cameras, the a6100, the a7 III. What cameras do you use or like? Any other accessory that you guys may have found for the a6100, or accessory that you appreciate when taking photos or recording video? The comment section is open for a discussion. But again, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss my videos. Then we can sit back, chillax, and see what's cracking. But your man Vrsatile signing out, and until the next video, wait for it.